Okay, let's start by reading the problem description for valid parentheses. Given a string S containing just the characters, we have opening and closing parentheses, curly braces, and square brackets. Determine if the input string is valid. An input string is valid if open brackets must be closed by the same type of brackets. Open brackets must be closed in the correct order. Every closed bracket has a corresponding open bracket of the same type. Example 1, the output should be true. Example 2, output is true. Example 3, output is false. For the constraints, we can see that the length of the string will be greater than or equal to 1 and less than or equal to 10 to the 4th, and S consists of parentheses only. For this approach, we're going to utilize a stack and a single for loop. This solution has a big O in time and space complexity. We'll start by initializing an object with our opening parentheses as the keys and the closing parentheses as the values, and we'll initialize a stack with an empty array. Then we'll set up a for loop that will iterate through the string. We start off with an opening curly brace. We check if the current character is a key in the map. It is, so we push the key's value, which is the closing curly brace, to our stack. The for loop iterates to an opening parenthesis. We check if it's a key in the map, which it is, so we push the key's value of a closing parenthesis to the stack. The for loop iterates to an opening square bracket. We check if it's a key in the map. It is, so we push the key's value, which is a closing square bracket, to the stack. The for loop iterates and now we have a closing square bracket. We check if it's a key in the map, which it is not. Then we check if the closing square bracket does not match the last element that gets popped off the stack. In this case, it does match, so the for loop iterates to the closing parenthesis. The closing parenthesis is not a key in our map, so the if condition evaluates to false. The closing parenthesis does match the last element in our stack that gets popped off, so the for loop iterates. Finally, we have a closing curly brace. The closing curly brace is not a key in the map. The closing curly brace does match the last element we pop off the stack, so the for loop iterates, which causes our for loop condition to evaluate to false. We exit our for loop and return an expression where we check if the stack is empty. If it's empty, that means we have a valid input string. Let's translate this to code. Okay, we'll start by initializing a variable called map with our possible characters. I'm just going to copy and paste it in here to save some time. Then we'll initialize a variable called stack with an empty array as the value. We'll set up a for loop. We'll initialize the index with a value of 0. We'll check that the index is less than the length of our string, and then we will increment index by 1 once the code block is finished executing. We'll store the current character in a variable. For our if condition, we are going to check if the key value pair exists. If it does, we are going to push the value to our stack. Else, if the current character does not equal the element that we pop off our stack, we're going to return false. And then once we exit our for loop, we're going to check if the stack length is 0, because if we have an empty stack, that means we have a valid input string. And that's our solution. Let's save this and run it against the test cases. And we get the expected output. Let's copy and paste this into Leetcode. Okay, let's paste it in here. Hit submit. And we get an accepted solution. If you found this video helpful, please consider hitting the like button and subscribe for more Leetcode diagrams and solutions. Thank you for watching.